back now.
So you can click live. Scott, why don't you send
Bill,
me
why
that
don't you go ahead and play
so I can
something?
look at it?
Yep. Okay, we're working. I think we're ready to go.
Should we worry about the webcam?
Nope.
Okay.
We're not going to worry about that webcam. We're just going to use the computer camera.
Yeah. I mean, you can play around with it later or something.
Yeah.
And see,
Okay.
you can figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go ahead and log into the Zoom room again because it'll probably work well with that too. Okay. Thanks everyone for your help.
And
We
patience.
really appreciate it.
Sure.
So
Yeah, it's all bump in the road. It's fine. It's all
Okay.
Enjoy your performance.
Thank
you
you.
kind of cut out of the frame, aren't you?
All right. Let's go. Let me get the Zoom room on
Oh,
so
okay.
we can at least interact with people.
Oh, it's
Something to do with that camera. It's never
I wondered
ever
if it
happened
was
before.
this, because your audio was weird too.
Okay.
Out on when Jeremiah's program is, and now we have William and Phil just back on to present their
change it
program.
to this
Is there a good
camera.
way to meet you so you can say hello?
Hey everybody.
William, can you guys?
I'm sure you don't want to-
Can you guys hear us okay?
We can hear you just great. Can you hear us?
Yes, we're so you hear about the program.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Of
While
course.
I'm checking the YouTube video.
Yeah, of course. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We were all set. William's put a ton of time into this. And sometimes gremlins get into the works and things happen. So we appreciate your patience. Trust me, it's going to be well rewarded. This is a great program. The first piece on the program is going to be Mozart's Duo K423. That's just a number that basically organizes his works in chronological order. Anyways, he was 2 years removed from having left Salzburg in a huff, having basically gotten kicked out by the Archbishop Colloredo, and came back to introduce to his father his new wife, Constance. And during this trip, he met Michael Haydn, who was the brother of the more famous Joseph Haydn, who told him a tale that he had a commission from the Archbishop, but he needed to finish these last two duos for violin and viola, but he was too sick to do it. And so, true to form, Mozart, being a very generous spirit, finished them himself. And this is one of those. It's a very, I guess, typical Mozartian first movement in sonata form. We'll go through and demonstrate those as we go onto YouTube. But it's a gorgeous three-movement piece. Then we're going to be playing a piece by Handel, arranged by a Norwegian guy named Halvorsen, also for violin and viola, called Passacaglia. That'll close the first half. And then, in the second half, we are inviting a special guest, Carrie Beater, and we're going to be playing Dvorak Terzetto for two violins and viola.
Very, very well. Thanks so much, Yup, for giving that preface. And with that in mind, I'll post the link in the chat for us to see it on YouTube, which is a much higher. You could also find it on the event page, and just make sure you're at live because this is going both in Zoom and in YouTube, and you want to hear the YouTube version, not the Zoom version. Then I'll actually mute and turn off the video so there's no confusion. And we'll experience about a 40-minute program, and then we'll come back here, to have a post-concert Q&A. And I could tell you guys a little bit about more group news after the program. So you should all join the link in the chat. See you there in a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to message me directly. I can support you. And we'll see you in the chat. come back here to have a post-concert Q&A. And there's a little bit more group news after the program. So you should all join the link in the chat. See you there in a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to message me directly. I can support it.
I'm just so
See
afraid
you.
it'll
See you in the chat.
do something weird.
That was getting sent over YouTube.
Okay.
He's got the power to do this stuff, so he's the host now.
Are we starting?
I think so.
See anything about the piece?
You just did. It's better fun.
No, for a second. So that's the first movement of that wonderful duo. Mozart was well known as an opera composer, and this next movement will show why. It has soaring melodies, sustained melodies in both instruments, a lot of sharing of melodies as we had in the first movement. Both instruments will get this beautiful melody. Has a lot of rhythmic variety, tremendous variety in use of register, high and low, and a beautiful pairing of the instruments accompanying each other. So we hope you enjoy this second movement of Mozart's duo in G major. final movement, I'd like to just say a couple little things. It's said that Mozart made the final movement especially simple and light at the beginning to hide the fact that he was the composer, because all these 6 duos were submitted as Michael Haydn's work. Actually, Colloredo liked the last 2 duos of the set, ironically, which were Mozart's, whom he fired, essentially. I mean, Mozart resigned, but essentially he was fired. And so that was kind of an ironic little twist. But one thing I wanted to demonstrate was a canon. We're all familiar with Pachelbel's canon, but this is a little bit of a different canon. The movement is very kind of lighthearted to begin with. You want to play just the movement together, beginning of the movement? And then let's play, he uses a canon which is 2 instruments kind of chasing or following one another, I should say. And he uses it to create a very different, a very expressive contrast. Let's demonstrate that. Let's pick up to semi-sim. Here the instruments are saying they're playing the same thing, but they're kind of phased out by a couple beats from each other. So that's one contrast to really pay attention to, in a way that Mozart adds real pathos to this otherwise lighthearted final movement.
Let's do. Okay.
Oh. What happened?
We can't hear you applauding if you did. Thank you. There's a little bit of a delay on our side, so William's going to say a couple words about the next piece we're going to play after he gets set up with his stuff. We did have the camera set up so it would get it from here, but with the technical difficulties today, we had to switch our camera angle, so sorry for not showing William's beautiful viola.
Oh, it's all right. Well, our next piece on our program tonight is the Handel Halvorsen Passacaglia. It's called Handel Halvorsen because it's based on a theme that Handel wrote, a keyboard suite theme from the Passacaglia movement of that suite, number 7, which was composed in 1720. But then Johann Halvorsen came along and arranged it for violin and viola duo with variations. This is in 1893 that he did this. So basically he took an old world theme and an old world set of variations. He took 12 of the original 15 variations and arranged them for violin and viola. And they've got all these different modern sort of string techniques in the variations. For instance, there's a variation with a bow stroke that we like to refer to as ricochet
Mhm.
at some points in time. So, yep. So it's a kind of throwing of the bow, which is why we get ricochet there. There are also things that are very arpeggiated, things that are off the string, lots of string crossings, lots of virtuosic types of playing that goes on in this piece. But you will hear the same theme throughout, or the same bass line that belongs with that theme. So I think that's probably enough information on this one. We'd love for you guys just to listen now. We hope you enjoy the Passacaglia for violin and viola by Handel Halvorsen.
We have extra props to anybody who can actually spell Passacaglia. Just text us during the Zoom session after this, and we'll congratulate you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll now adjourn for a Zoom room intermission, about 5 minutes. I think Scott will take care of the logistics for that.
I didn't hear back from any of my people. Great job. No audience here. Well, that just worked. We just heard that. Well, and I just texted two of my friends that is working, and I haven't had a response. I would think they would have. I think Sue would have totally texted me and been like, "What are you doing?"
Just ask them.
I mean, I put something in there that it was working, and we went and looked together.
And it was doing that gargly black screen again. Try it again.
This is just. I'm calling Scott. Hi, Scott. Is it working? It's paused.
What?
We just played our first half and we had no idea whether or not it was going until we started getting texts from people saying that they're not seeing it. Nope, nope. We started the stream and we started playing. We haven't touched the computer since.
And that was just for the Zoom chat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's only for this.
It's back.
See, I think it's for the Zoom chat, not as.
Yeah. It's on. Let me step into the other room for a second. So, did the first act at all?
No, he was just looking at the two, it's the same black screen. But aren't people supposed to be watching the performance on the Google site
Yeah, I'm supposed to be watching it.
instead of YouTube? So, what's the YouTube part? The Zoom meeting in the middle?
They want to change it for some reason.
Who did, Google did? Really fabulous. Whereas that camera was like something.
Yeah.
It's just amazing for the last minute meetings are just
Isn't it so great?
so fun. I just love that.
It's such a great deal. Oh my gosh. He says it's okay. Scott says it's okay.
He can see it?
So weird.
But I was texting my friend in Texas.
How is she watching it via YouTube?
I'll show you. She said this is where she tried to go to.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay. So we're not going to interact during
Okay.
the session.
This is what Maud said she was trying,
Oh.
okay? And it, you know. And then she just told me she got to see King Tut. What the hell's that? I got to
So basically, he said, if somebody's not seeing it, it's something from their end because
Okay.
Oh.
he says it's been fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, just for grins, text our cousin Colin Chris in Las Vegas?
I'm not gonna worry about that right now.
Okay.
And do you want to try that other? Oh shit! One fly's been on the whole fucking.
Oh, wait a minute. Maud says, I got it. I see King Tut.
I always check my fly.
Oh, your fly's been open all the time. FYI.
I need a very stiff after the seeking film. Oh my god. I'm sorry that I was able to say as focused as I was.
Yeah. I was thinking a lot of thoughts.
And it's the first time I
All of them.
performed it.
I
I
know.
texted my friend.
Yeah.
She says she can see
This
King
is
Tut, which
perfect.
means it's working.
People
Well, it's
walking
delayed,
around.
so maybe, did you just walk over there?
Yeah, I just asked her if she can see me. Are we on or
I
not?
can't hear since
It's on,
So
right?
Scott said it
We're
would be
live?
short intermission,
Yeah, I guess.
so he told him 7 or 8 minutes from the time I just went there. It's straight
I
out.
can't
Clap
tell.
for you guys, and then I was
Yeah,
like, is
nobody
that
can
dumb?
clap.
And we know bow.
Well, we should.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it's just not yet.
Well, that's hard, what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, this is my. I think the intent is good to make the set quality as high as possible. And bring in the ABS thing. Obviously trips something up because I need to test with it this Saturday in the studio. It's fun. Just to make sure you know I have the procedure done.
Yeah.
And
And that's most frustrating.
and
isn't
then
it?
to do the Zoom, I'm like, that's 3 things the musicians have to worry about technically.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at tech stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that.
Well, that's the sad thing is that
A lot
of
of people.
old people that have to deal with
It shouldn't be
the sense of we're doing something wrong. It shouldn't be you because you're the one that actually took the time to get everything dialed in and we did a dress rehearsal.
phone calls, webinars,
Yeah, I mean, you must have spent at
Watching
least
YouTube.
5-6 hours, you know?
On just that.
Oh, yeah, just on the tech side.
Yeah.
So that needs to be made crystal clear, and Scott should vouch for you too. Yeah. Well, Christos was hopeful to a certain extent.
But I don't think that was a wall.
Mhm.
They're gonna be this tech, but they need to have a tech person
Yeah.
up on the spot.
Mhm.
You can only just imagine
She said she could see King Tut. So I put myself there and asked her if she could see me waving and haven't heard from her. Because if she can see King Tut,
That means
then
it's frozen, though, maybe, I mean, how
Who
would
knows?
you not be in it if you stepped in?
I didn't want to tell you while you were playing
Yeah,
because.
please. I didn't wanna know that.
Yeah, I kind of
That's what
figured.
I said.
I don't need that kind of instruction. I don't know
Daddy was
instruction.
like,
It's
I
so
got right
stressful.
before you started, I was like,
Anyways,
do you know what
I think we should go to the starter second.
Okay, let's
I'll
just
start
do it.
talking about
Yeah.
text,
So it is actually working on the group news.
Is this on?
Can we bring her off?
It looks like it. Can you hold it so that it doesn't start? Zip.
All over.
I'll turn off and off.
Okay,
We've lost people. That sucks.
how can you tell?
There should be more people.
Close this.
Maybe they took a break.
It's from the side.
Do you need these notes?
I want to do that. I just want to go to here.
Well, at least everything's black. So hopefully, I wasn't wearing black on the blanket. You could see. Next time. EXP.
Okay.
Yeah. And you just kind of,
All right, guys.
wow, good job.
Go ahead and
Which
scan
camera's
out.
doing it? This one or that one?
That one.
Oh, so this is a moot point. Okay, I'm moving it.
The audio is still the new
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah. Okay. Are you gonna say something?
Yeah.
Cool.
So welcome to our second half. Our second half today is one piece by Antonin Dvorak, who lived from 1841 to 1904. Czech composer. You've probably heard of the New World Symphony, maybe the American String Quartet. These are famous pieces by Dvorak. In addition to this, he wrote many other things. And one of the pieces that he wrote that we're performing this evening is the Terzetto. Terzetto is simply a musical term meaning, or a term meaning a musical composition for three voices. In this case, we're referring to two violins and a viola. Kind of an odd combination. More common to see a string quartet, two violins, a viola, and a cello. The violist and the second violinist, my part and Carrie's part, are usually the inner voices. In this particular case, the violist really takes on the role of both an inner voice and a bass line, something that a cellist would play. So you'll hear that throughout the piece. Dvorak wrote this piece for a young chemistry student that he met, who was an amateur violinist, who happened to live in the same household as a boarder. Dvorak lived with his in-laws, and at the time, they had a boarder who was a violinist and taking violin lessons. So he thought, you know, I'd like to write a piece that I could play with this guy. And he thought, you know, why not write a piece I could play with him and his teacher? So he wrote the piece originally for this amateur violinist, his teacher who was a violinist, and Dvorak playing the viola part. After one read-through, they decided it was a bit hard for the violinist, for the first violinist. And so he wrote something else for them to perform, and they performed it later. But Dvorak decided, you know, we'll have some others premiere this. So on the 30th of March in 1887, the Terzetto was officially premiered. He actually wrote this early in January, in 1 week, from between January 7th and 14th. It's 4 movements long. We have a first movement which has a sweet fluid motion to it and also contrasting running passages. As said before, the viola often provides a bass line. And then we have a slow second movement, which juxtaposes a lyrical section with a dotted rhythmic section. So you'll hear the difference between those. There's a third movement, the scherzo, which is really just a fast Czech dance full of lots of rhythmic shifting and shifting accents. And then finally, there's a fourth movement, which is a theme with 10 variations. And much like the Passacaglia, each variation is very different and exercises different parts of the string technique. There's even one variation in particular that sounds much like a recitative in an opera. So this is Dvorak's Terzetto in C major, and we hope that you enjoy it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, should we go to the Zoom studio?
Yeah. So now we'll be heading to the Zoom studio for any questions or comments.
Your camera isn't on for some reason. Oh, weird.
Let me see what I can do
Start
about
video.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Here we are, back in the studio. Does anybody have any questions for us?
It was beautiful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay, everyone. I'm gonna mute everyone so we can all give you a warm round of applause. Just a moment.
Thank you.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna mute everyone. So when you're present, so we can hear the ensemble.
Sure. Would you like us to say something about the pieces, Scott? I mean, say something else, or what?
Okay, everyone. I'm gonna
I think you can just stop the live stream.
I'm gonna mute. Warm round of applause.
Sorry, we're gonna end the stream. Sorry, we're hearing ourselves out here too.